Hi, I'm
Uh,
Becky
Hi,
Mits. I'm
Becky.
from 93.9 The Beat, Honolulu in Hawaii. So, hi, Destin. How are you?
I'm well. How are you, Becky?
I'm really well. I'm really excited because I got to tell you, I saw Shang-Chi a couple weeks back. It's a phenomenal film. I took my big brother,
Oh,
and
yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
and
cool.
he looked over at me and he was like, "This is our movie." So, I'm really excited to be
Aw,
talking to you today.
you got the brother-sister vibe in there. That's awesome.
Yeah, totally. The movie has a brother sister vibe, so it was special for me to have to take my big brother as well. And
Yeah.
I know you're a big brother, so it means a lot,
Thanks, Becky.
of course. So we'll get into Shang-Chi and we'll get into the Marvel stuff. I'm the resident Marvel nerd here, but I want to talk about Hawaii because
Oh,
your
okay.
your Instagram bio is Hawaii. Well, I'll get into the movie, but your Instagram bio is like Hawaii born storyteller. Like you represent it. And from one Hawaii kid to another, it's like when you see a Hawaii kid succeed, it means everything. And I'm curious to know if being from Hawaii and being raised here has anything to do with your creative process in terms of making your films, and even if it made it into Shang-Chi in any way.
Yeah. I mean, growing up in Hawaii it's such a unique experience in so many ways. Storytelling is such uh, it's so infused into just everyday culture where, I mean, I don't think really there's many places on earth where two cars will just stop in the middle of the road to talk story, like, and they'll just block traffic just to talk about whatever happened yesterday. And that storytelling culture I think it's just ingrained in people. When you're sitting at a party, there's always like the two or three friends who just own the room, and their ability to weave stories are something that has always fascinated me. I've never been the outspoken center of attention type of personality, but I do think that the art of storytelling was something that I've always been fascinated with.
And a big part about Hawaii, I feel like, in addition to just talking story in general, is family is very important in our culture here. And family has been a reoccurring theme in your films as well as in Shang-Chi. And I read somewhere that you kind of wanted there to be an Asian superhero that represented like somebody to look up to for your son. Like for me, Mulan was like that thing for me. And like for us, like, do you think that having it's hard for me to I have a difficult time describing what representation means. So like maybe you can like better explain why representation in terms of with a superhero is so important in this day and age today.
I mean, growing up in Hawaii is like we have such um, a unique, I think, window into representation and what that means to other Asian Americans. Because in Hawaii, we typically don't grow up feeling the weight of being a minority. We are surrounded by a lot of people who look similar to us or have a variety of Asian backgrounds, but we have a lot of things in common with each other. But I do think that, at least for me growing up, every time I went to the movie theater, which was a lot because I was kind of addicted as a kid, and I was I was being exposed to other cultures, like even just American high school culture, which was like a foreign culture to me. Um, and I was watching all of the blockbuster movies like everybody, and I was too young to know that I just wasn't seeing myself on screen. I wasn't seeing any representation of my upbringing or background or my parents' background up on screen. I never had a superhero to look up to who looked like me. And I think we just get used to just learning how to project ourselves into white dudes or whatever, just like people who do not look like us. So we just act like we're Superman. We act like we're behind the Spider-Man mask. and to be able to start to just give more choices to another generation of kids who look like us is very exciting.
It's super exciting, and it's really important, and it really does make a difference in terms of growing up, like being a kid and seeing somebody that looks like you on screen. And you mentioned that you saw all of the blockbusters, and this is kind of your first venture into like a really big blockbuster. Do you see yourself more directing blockbuster films like Marvel, or do you see yourself more as small films, or even a combination of both?
I think I mean, I don't know. It'll probably be a combination. I've never had an aspiration to be a blockbuster filmmaker. The truth is, like, as a kid, like, I didn't even know there was a job directing movies. I didn't even, the fact that I'm doing this as a career is still baffling to me. And that also is a part of representation. If we don't, when we're young, like it really just takes one example of someone doing a job or a career that you can relate to, that inspires you to say, oh, I could do that. And I do think that there is a power in seeing somebody do something that you can drive to get to that place. And I think we can all look back wherever we are in life and remember the person or the thing that inspired us to start heading in that direction. And I hope that this movie, having a movie like this out there, can provide some of that spark for imagination for kids, starting to come up with ideas of what they want to go for in life.
And then one final question, Destin. I read somewhere that you got your inspiration not only working at an at-risk group home, but also rereading a journal entry that you had in the past for your film Short Term 12. Do you still journal? And did any kind of like journaling make it to the inspiration of Shang-Chi or the process of making that film?
I don't journal as much as I should. I tend to write a lot of notes now into my iPhone. But I think most people who are writers have tried to create a habit of whenever you notice something interesting or hear something interesting or have a good thought, just write it down. Otherwise, I'll forget it in 5 minutes. But yeah, a lot of those little entries always make their way into scripts when I'm writing. And this one in particular, when we were trying to create these characters that felt like our lives, that felt like our friends, that felt like the Asian Americans that I know, who dress like the characters in our movie and listen to that type of music and feel very modern despite also being connected to their traditional culture of their parents. That feeling of being bicultural and bilingual in their family households and balancing the culture of modern American Western culture while holding on to the culture of our parents is something that I'm very familiar with, and my friends are very familiar with. So a lot of that experience that I would jot down or just remember definitely made it into the movie.
Well, Destin, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time today, and congratulations on all your success. Shang-Chi, it's an amazing film. It's phenomenal.
Thank you so much, Becky.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.